The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, I'm Carl Seidel, host of The People's View, sponsored by the Nashua City Republican Committee. And if you want, we meet at the Crown Plaza the second Thursday of every month. And if you want to find out more information, you can go to our website at nashuagop.org.
Welcome to The People's View.
Hello, and help me welcome Dennis Hogan, our county attorney.
Thank you.
Dennis, thank you for coming.
Oh, you're
welcome. You can tell us a little bit about your running for another term.
Well, right. I've been doing the county attorney for almost 2 terms now, and I'm doing a terrific job. And you can be sure of that because there's nothing about me in the newspapers.
That's one way of looking at it, isn't it?
You know, it is one of those jobs where if you do something wrong, they're very happy to make big headlines out of it. And, you know, you see it happen in places in New Hampshire, places around the country, because it is the same as a district attorney. There's people who just take the doing of the job the wrong way. They think it's they get to a point where they're in that political position, and they think everything should change because now they're doing politics. You know, I've done a lot of different political things, you know, since I was a teenager. I was in the Constitutional Convention and a state legislator. And so I kind of have the feel for how you do politics and understand that it's maybe not as complicated as other people add to it. And in this particular job, you know, it's finding where it fits within the government structure and then just doing that, you know, staying focused, I like to say. And so that's kept me out of any of that trouble. You know, trying to go into issues that I shouldn't be going into, trying to add a different equation to what you should be doing when the job is just prosecution. You know, I tell people prosecution is you take the facts, you take the statute, you add them together, and that's what you should do. There's no political thing in there. There's no politics in that formula.
Well,
so
is there anything that you have to do with the legislature? I mean, do you want to change anything
to the extent
make your
that
job?
Anybody in the legislature wants my advice, I'm happy to give it. But I prefer to give it sort of privately. You know, you ask if you have a question about, you know, you're working on something to do with the judiciary, and you want my opinion or want some facts from it. I'd rather be from the position of sort of an honest broker who's not out trying to make a name for himself because I'm advocating. I'd rather play the honest broker and tell you what I think of the facts. And if I have a little bit of influence because I've done that, that's fine. But you know, obviously I have to go to the delegation and make my case. That's a different thing. But to me, that's a different thing. Then it's just telling you, letting you know what the you know, the job requirement is. You know, in my mind, it's telling you how many files there are. You know, what a great increase we've had in the last 4 or so years, because you know that's significant, and that requires a different commitment of spending and how many people we have on board.
Well, what is your biggest area? Is this drug problem the biggest area that you're having to deal with?
I think not only the drugs for themselves, and so when we're talking about drugs, we're talking about felony level, you know, the opioids and prescription drugs. People sometimes get confused. They think we're doing a lot of work with marijuana, but the fact is, at our level, which is the felonies, we're not dealing with marijuana possession unless it comes along with another felony case. We are dealing with when somebody has a lot of marijuana and we think that that person is selling marijuana, so that would be a felony. But it's not only those possessions and sales, but also the problems they create, I think, when people are intoxicated, because a lot of the things that are happening are just through the desperation of wanting more money to pay for the habit, through the becoming stupid, frankly, and doing stupid things, injuring other people, sexual assaults that happen when people aren't in their right mind. So I think that adds the thing that we've seen that's killing a lot of people, that epidemic that's killing a lot of people, is also having the effect of adding a lot of cases to our workload.
I don't know, they call it the drug court or
Yeah.
stuff. Is that helping your? I
Drug
mean, you're needing a way of treating these people without just sticking them in a cell.
Right, and I think probably it is. That's a very hard thing to quantify, which we've always said it would be. But there are there is anecdotal evidence that suggests that it's helping out. You know, one maybe two of the persons that have gone through the drug court in Nashville were responsible before that for a crime spree of thefts, actually burglaries. So, you know, those people in Nashville not having their house, you know, broken into, and who it would have happened in the future. Of course, we don't know. But you know, so that's helpful in that way. It's hard to say that you can deal with the entire drug epidemic with drug court, because a lot of the people who are having problems with drugs and even dying, they never get arrested. You know, so they're never even in the system for us to act on them. But for those people that are arrested and they look like they're going to just have a lifetime of problems, to send them to the drug court has been helpful for some of them. You know, the fact of the matter is, maybe I should say, however, that we've had 6 people graduate, which is terrific. We've also had 2 people die who are in the system, not because of the system, obviously, but in spite of the drug court. They, you know, they're in such a bad way that they still continue to do drugs, and you know, doing drugs in this day and age, leading a lot of people to the heroin, and that's eventually death.
Do you think marijuana plays a role in this?
You know, somebody just emailed me a story that's in the Globe, I believe. It was linked to, and there's the answer is maybe. I mean, that is the real answer. I think obviously for some people it is, and then for some people it isn't. So how, you know?
Yeah.
But and then the other thing, the point it made is that doing experiments with rats, I think it was, they found that yes, indeed, marijuana will lead a rat to be more likely to go on to use heroin.
Stronger, yeah.
However, you would also find the same effect with nicotine. So smoking would have the same, you know, smoking a cigarette would have the same gateway attributes as smoking marijuana. So, you know, the same advice I would have always given somebody is stay away from all of it. You know? Try to keep good things in your body and not bad things. And if it's on fire, that's probably a good indication that it's bad.
Well, the other part of it is the continued treatment of people who, you know, get off it for a while to make sure they don't get back on it. Is that something you get involved in, or is that just something for the social services?
Well, only in the sense that it's part of the drug court. I mean, that is part of the drug court program. As they're going before the judge, at the same time, they have those biweekly meetings with the judge, you know, hearings with the judge. They are also being coached by a man, you know, a caseworker, to get themselves in a better situation in terms of living, you know, get with the better friends, and you know, everything that is surrounding them to keep them off of drugs. So that's how we touch it. We don't.
You monitor
beyond that? No. Well, only within the sense of the drug court. We don't have like you know, our office doing some of the monitoring of that. No, because that's a sort of a specialized thing.
Yeah, it is specialized. Do you see any need in that area for us to do it? Because I saw recently that Harbor Homes is getting involved with people who are trying to stay off it, and they're providing with a few seats anyway, or a few beds, I'd say, for people to get in an environment that would keep them.
Well, again, it's not something I've studied, but anecdotally, that people are always saying there's need, you know, for follow-up, for places for them to live. It's just like there's always need for jobs. You know? You don't have to study that to know that, you know, jobs would be helpful, because if you can send somebody, it's easy to send somebody to do a job, and a decent job. I think we're going to do a better job of keeping them off drugs, and once they're off, you know, keeping them sober.
The jail that where most of the people, I guess, that you deal with is in Manchester, right?
Yeah.
Is that
they'll go through it. Whoever's dealing with us has probably gone through the jail.
Okay.
Not necessarily, though. There are
Do you
some
have
situations.
to deal with the one in Concord at all?
The state prison?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, to some extent. I mean, the people that are convicted of our, case, in our cases, the felonies, they're mostly going to the prison, yeah. Because felonies are, get you over a year. So anybody who's going to have more than a year is going to go to the prison.
Have you seen the new women's prison that they're putting up?
I have not.
I'd recommend it. I just happened to get as part of Public Works, so we saw the construction up there, and it's very impressive. And what they're doing is top notch.
That's
from what
good.
we can tell.
The architecture of prisons strikes me as a pretty important thing. Now that I'm dealing with this part of it, I was in the legislature when we voted for the jail, and the important thing was to get it built. But we were debating whether to build it in Manchester or whether to build it in Goffstown, and the reasons had very little to do with the functioning of the jail. The reasonings back and forth had to do with travel, and I think some politics. People just wanted to keep it, keep the jobs in Manchester, and what I would suggest we should have been thinking about, now that I have all these years of knowledge, is how the thing was going to function. And I think it's Sullivan County that's recently made a new jail. I might be wrong, but it's one of the western counties. They've set up a jail with what they call soft beds, so that they can be treatment, and as opposed to the hard unit, which is just jail time. They wanted to have the ability to bring people in and say, yeah, you're in jail, but really what you're here for is treatment, probably for drugs, but it could be other things. Mental health maybe, but certainly it was intended for drugs. And so that allowed them to have a jail drug program that fit right in with the way they had designed their jail. And so I think it's going to be many years, probably decades, before Hillsborough County is looking into making a new jail. But I would suggest that the postage stamp thing, plot that we have the jail on in Manchester is not big enough to make an adequate
add to it or something like that.
Well, yeah, and we even talked about it back in the 80s that it was going to be able to build upward.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I think there was some lawsuit because they had built it so it wasn't easy to build upward or something. But you don't have room to just build out. And when you look at a modern jail these days, you need some space to stretch it out, allow light to come in, allow different units that do different things.
Well, that's what apparently they're doing with the new women's prison. I think they have 4 levels of prisoners there. And, they're telling us about some of the legal requirements, so much daylight, so much exercise time, and how they arrange that up there. I think what you're going to do is find out that the old jail that's now, I guess, used for the men is going to need some upgrading, because they do have, it's an old, I don't know how old.
The old jail or the old prison?
The old prison.
Yeah, well, I have visited the old prison.
Yeah.
And that is a scary place. I mean, I suppose it's partially intended to be a scary place. But I think with all the additions, when you go into it, you have no idea where you are. There's not much light. You certainly feel locked in. But then I've also visited the prison in Merrimack. It's a jail in Merrimack. The jail in Merrimack, that's sort of stretched out. There's, as a visitor, you go through a long hall. But when you're there, you see that the prisoners are in an area that allows a lot of light in, which is, is good.
How about your staff? How are you doing there? Are you?
Well, we'll keep it. There's been some turnover with the, with the improving economy. People have been moving, to private sector. The court has seen the sort of talent that is in my office, because we only hire people for their talent. So that's, I think we maybe have a reputation for that. So we've lost some people in my time to the court, and so I've had to work at keeping a finger on the pulse of who's out there. Sort of always keeping a bullpen to make sure that I have somebody who's qualified to come in.
Look at the law schools. Is that what you do?
Well, I do. I keep in touch with the law school. I go to the law school and try to get people to come in as interns.
Yeah.
Once they've graduated from law school, sometimes we can get them to be interns while they're waiting for their bar results. And we've even had some people continue on while they're looking for a job. But then there's some of those people who might come in later, come back and be we have a position we call a paralegal, which I often use for sort of trying somebody out to see how they are as an attorney. So that it's called paralegal, but so they're doing research and organizing the research, but also they get a chance to go into the court, see how they like that, and see how we like how they do that. But the paralegal position also allows us to see how well they write,
Wow.
if they're good writers, and just their overall work ethic, make sure they're there. So we've moved. I can think of 3 right off the top of my head who have gone from that position into a regular ACA position, assistant county attorney position. Yeah, so
So you have your own farm system, huh?
I try to kind of have that at the same time that I'm also keeping in touch with people who are more experienced. Because sometimes you lose somebody who's very experienced and you want to replace them with somebody who's very experienced. So you might want to reach somewhere else. And for example, at the beginning of last year, I interviewed some people and I found 2 candidates that I really liked. But I had to guess which one I thought would work out better. And so we took that one. But I kept in touch with the other person. Time went by, and eventually it came that we could use that person as well. So I reached out to that person and brought that person in. So we were able to have both those very experienced people come into the office. So that's working the experienced part, and then with the interns, we make sure we always have somebody who's less experienced too, because I can't fill the office with just people who are very experienced. The structure of salaries doesn't allow for that. It's sort of like a football team, right? With the salary caps and whatnot. You got to do
Certain
that
positions get a little bit more.
Yeah.
Than others.
Well, they're all. That's what people love about our office, is that they're all just attorneys, as if they're in their own office, so they can grow as much as they want. But given the experience in years, we have to tell them, well, that's how much years experience you have. Yeah. So you're gonna start here, and then you'll start on your way working up. And that experience level depends on how much experience they have, just generally how much experience they have with criminal, and with if they have a lot of experience with another prosecuting office.
Do you have any input or what they're going to be doing with the women's prison now that's in Goffstown once they move to the new one, which they tell me is going to be about a year from now?
No, I don't have anything to do with that. It's, the commissioners will probably handle that.
I was just wondering whether you saw any way of using that, maybe for, you say you can't expand Manchester.
Right. It was actually mentioned that might be a place that's available for the SART program, which is for getting people off drugs while they're in the jail. But I don't know. There wasn't a lot of discussion about it. It was just sort of mentioned, that's going to be available.
Yeah, do you
Maybe.
think that's space?
Because we don't know whether it is going to be available. I think they have a contract now, and the time for negotiating the contract, it hasn't come. They've obviously anticipating that at some point they won't be needed. The state will no longer need to send anybody there, but it hasn't come to that yet.
Okay. Well, when they told us on the tour there that they were going to start accepting women prisoners in November of 17.
November 17. Okay, so.
Yeah. And I was just wondering whether that might be used as a transitional place, because your place the place in Goffstown doesn't really need the security that some of the prisons have or the jails have. It might be a transitional place, might be a training place too. Because I know they use prisoners over there to do some, I guess, maintenance work.
Yeah. Well, the superintendent of the jail is Dave Dion.
Right.
That's his purview. So.
Okay. No, I just was wondering.
He's good at his job.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
What problems do you have that you'd like to try to remedy?
Well, the big thing is the volume.
Yeah.
I mean, we have gone from like 850 files per year coming to Nashua, and about 1,600. It was maybe 1,500 back in 2011. Manchester went up a great deal from 2011 to 2015. Nashua stayed about the same, but in the last year has now gone up to about 1,000. Yeah. So it's as if the drug thing was a wave that was just coming. You could kind of see it coming. It came to Manchester first, and then came to Nashua. So it's caused a great increase of the amount of files per person. and I have a chart that shows that. But we have to get more people in. It's as simple as that. There just needs to be more people dealing with those cases. And at the same time, the court has decided, and the legislature has decided to do this felonies first thing, which means we're going to cut out the district court. So if you can imagine, the district courts, which function all around the county with about 17 prosecutors dealing with the very first part of a felony case, which is to bring the person in and give them an arraignment, maybe a probable cause hearing. That's going to be taken out, and those cases are going to go directly to the county attorney's office. So that's going to mean more work, because we're going to take away what they have and then do it in our office. So again, that's more people. So the amount of people that we'll be asking for in the next budget session is just mind-boggling. We actually did it last time, if you recall, and they said, well, let's kick that can down the road a bit. Maybe they got the judges to say, all right, we won't give you felonies first until the next budget year. But hey, it's going to be the next budget year come next time, and it's you look at it, it's an extraordinary amount, because I have 2 offices.
Until you get back to a level that's a little lower.
So does the crime wave ebb? That's the question. I think the answer is yes, but I don't. Oh, you mean for the felonies first?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the theory.
Yeah.
That's the theory. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, we haven't seen it really happen in another county at the same level because no other county is as big as Hillsborough County.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
So you can say that Stratford had to hire somebody or hire 2 people, and they were able to reduce by 1. But what does that mean for Hillsborough? Because we send people over to Stratford to sort of investigate how it's working over there, so we can be prepared.
Yeah.
And they say, well, you're in luck. We have a felony case today. It's like, oh, great. That's nothing like what we're dealing with. There is definitely a felony case happening right now in Nashua and Manchester, a couple of them.
Yeah.
No question you'll see a felony being done if you go to the district court tomorrow morning in Nashua. No question. It's just a totally different level. So the judges sort of have sold it on the idea that the work is up front and then it's going to dissipate. But we'll see.
Yeah.
And I hate to just tell you, oh yeah, we believe that, and then be so understaffed that things just don't work.
No. I think what you're saying though is that I think I'll need a significant increase, but it may only be for a year or 2, and your turnover is enough that you can absorb that and let it come back.
So as it comes, I mean, the thing to watch is just continue to look at how many cases we have and what kind of workflow we have, and then see if it's necessary to keep the same amount of people. And if not, then we reduce the amount of people. But I'm not at this point of reducing anybody, because I haven't gotten the bump yet, to handle the workload that's certainly coming.
A few more months, you're going to have to turn in your initial budget.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
if reelected, which I would suggest people do vote for me.
Well, tell us about your campaign. Do you need some help or something like that? Do you want to ask the people to contact you?
Well, you can go to hoganforcountyattorney.com if you want to see, anything about me. I'm on Facebook, Dennis Hogan Attorney. That's the best place to see, videos of people who have sort of endorsed me because they saw the changes that I brought to the office. If anybody wants to volunteer to help me, that's great. One of the things I like to do is just get out and meet people by knocking on their doors. I go to events as well, but people aren't necessarily interested in county attorney. It's not the first thing on their mind. I knock on doors and people haven't decided who they're going to vote for president yet, so they certainly have not thought about county attorney.
Yeah.
So I feel it's my obligation to go out there and pound the pavement.
I noticed that you have done a lot of that, and but this is an awful large county for your office. I'm glad I don't have an area that large.
It is, and I probably am making progress only because I've been doing it for a number of years at this point, where I've been able to spend some time up in Hillsborough, going door to door, and they look at me like, we've never seen anybody running for county attorney before. I said, well, here I am.
Okay.
But Manchester and Nashua obviously have the most people, so I make sure to go. I went to a neighborhood on Sunday that I don't think I'd been I don't think I had ever knocked on doors there.
Oh,
So that was a
you get
good
any
experience.
strange looks from the people who you were able to meet?
No, it was pretty
No,
good, pretty warm welcome this
Oh,
time.
good,
Yeah, there's
good.
been times where the funniest thing I think anyone ever said to me, and the most off-putting to me this year, was the guy just took my thing and said, "I've heard of you," and shut the door. So
You
that
don't
made
know
me
whether
scratch
it's
my
good or-
head.
Yeah, which
Like,
way is you hear
was
from
that good or
me?
bad that he heard? I don't know. He didn't give me a chance to ask. He just, "I've heard of you," took the thing. And,
Well, at least it didn't slam it.
well, maybe it didn't slam, but I think it was because it was a very nice door. It was a very nice house.
Well, good, good.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that you sound like you got a good handle on the job.
I do, and I think that's important. That's why I think it's important to reelect me, because it is going to be a year that's got a lot of challenges to it. My opponent is somebody who really doesn't understand anything about the office, which is fine because he's never been in it and he has no way to understand the office. But he also has no experience with leadership, and this is a leadership position. It's important to be a fine attorney, and we all are there, but is as important when you're leading a group is that you are good at leadership, good at listening, and good at keeping your personality out of decision making, which is what I think I bring to the table. And I'm bringing in judgment, obviously. So
Yeah.
with a whole lifetime of being, well, actually, I shouldn't say I've had a lifetime in politics, but you knew I was in politics as a youngster. I've been in politics around Nashua since serving in the school board, and people have been able to see, that my judgment has been decent, and so that's what you get. So to change it now, I'm just saying there's no reason to do it.
Take advantage of your experience.
That's right. People can
Well,
take advantage.
thank you very much.
Well, you're
for the
welcome. Thanks for
interview.
having me. I appreciate it.
Good luck on your reelection.
Thank you.
And we'll have you back again sometime.
All right, great. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.